Christopher Froome, the White Kenyan. The man who managed to win the Giro del Capo and 7 Grand Tours, including one where he tested positive for salbutamol. Mr. 3 centimeters, beloved of bike fitters everywhere. The YouTuber who does not like time trial bikes, and especially the alpha male who was able to cheat the billionaire Sylvan Adams. But of course he had to learn to make a name for himself in the world of professional cycling in his younger years. Taking advantage of the start of the Vuelta Asturias, the legendary Spanish village race won by true monsters of doping such as Gert-Jan Teunissen, Piotr Ugrumov, Alex Zuller, Laurent Jalabert, Leonardo Piepoli, Ivan Mayo or Raul Alarcon, among others, it's a good opportunity to tell you about the first and last time that the nice Kenyan participated in this competition. A story in which he had to face a tough contender, but it was not another rider, but rather a doctor, the now famous Dr. Marcos Maynar, known for prescribing coconut oil to Coconut Oil Lopez, and for his outstanding work in the field of the excellent University of Extremadura. It was a duel that possibly not even the oldest amongst you will remember, but from Cycling Highlights, we want to pay tribute to him. For it was the moment when Froome realised that if he wanted to succeed in professional sport, it wasn't enough just to become a British citizen. He also had to know how to use the best marginal gains. If you also want to donate some rich earnings to this channel, don't forget to give your super thanks. I'm convinced that Sylvan Adams would do it if he got to see this video. Now, Chris Froome had just arrived in professional cycling with the Barlow World Team, after going viral at the Under-23 World Time Trial Championships for leaving the Kenyan flag quite literally on the floor. After that nice story, he managed to find a place in the first half-serious English-speaking English project to achieve glory in the Tour de France. And before he made his debut in the Grand Boucle, in which his teammate Moises Dueñas had tested positive for EPO, Flavio Miozzo's team decided to take young Christopher to several village competitions, such as the Giro del Capo, in which he was runner-up, or the Volta ao Distrito de Santarém, where he finished 6th place, thrilling all the Africans who applauded that future endorser and promoter and defender of Jewish food. Among those village competitions, there were 2 in early May held in Asturias, the classic Subida al Naranco and the Vuelta Asturias. These races had been very successful in the 1990s, thanks to the participation of superstars such as Miguel Indurain, Tony Rominger or Roberto Heras. But after the creation of the UCI Pro Tour, they lost their ability to attract the biggest teams. However, in 2008, participation in these races was surprisingly good, with teams like the Euskaltel of Sami Sanchez, the former doped local idol who won Olympic gold that same year, Dr. Bastida's Karpin Galicia with the friend of the Danish anchovy Ezekiel Mosquera, and the Sonia Duval of Dracula Gianetti with the doped bison cook Juanjo Cobo, or Gianni Savio's team with the legendary doper banned for life Swede Niklas Axelsson. That was the year he was resurrected thanks to Mercier EPO. Faced with such a plethora of stars, few noticed the Barlow world of our favourite White Kenyan. They came along with the doper Moises Dueñas and the then highly motivated John Lee Augustine as team leaders. And even fewer people noticed the Portuguese team of Dr. Maynar, the Milanesa, now renamed LA Aluminios MSS. In that continental team had landed several Spanish riders, tainted by Operation Puerto, riders such as Constantino Zabaya or Angel Vicioso, and they were now looking for an opportunity to shine again so that some Pro Tour team would look at them for the following seasons. Something that the other local idol could not do. Santiago Perez, the hilarious doper who almost won a Vuelta a España in the mythical Phonak of Tugboat Hamilton in 2004, and who, for 2008, tried to sign up for the Spanish national team, but was rejected by the organisation to a chorus of booing from the local fans, who were always eager to see quality cycling. Fortunately, they were able to see him in these 2 competitions, in which Froome learned to become a man. In the Subida al Naranco, he actually learned very, very quickly, for he arrived out of time along with the doper Raul Arlacon, who was then in the ranks of Gianetti and Machin's team. However, those who really handed out a lesson were Maynar's men, with the now sadly deceased in a domestic accident Xavier Tondo winning the sprint on Monte Naranco. And he won it ahead of two monsters, the client of Ufe Fuentes, called O'Gill, of the Portuguese Liberty Seguros, and the Italian Probenecid Gazelli, a bald, sensual rider who had promised to be the new Pantani after winning a Giro d'Italia, but who, in 2008, was in the ranks of the legendary Acquai Saponi team, a team in which he would conquer Tirreno Adriatico in 2010 and do it, of course, totally clean. However, the main course to be eaten by Froome was at the Vuelta Asturias, where he was quickly to learn that professional cycling is a sport of alphas, one in which you either step on them or they step on you. Everyone thought that the competition, then 6 stages long, would be decided in the end on the legendary climb to the Alto del Acebo, but the Portuguese aluminium team decided to turn the rulebook upside down on the first day, between Oviedo and Gijón. Dr. Maynar advised his pupils with invaluable wisdom on how to improve their performance, and in an example of teamwork and group cohesion, LA Aluminios MSS broke the peloton apart, a peloton in which Christopher Froome still did not know how to move freely. At the top of the San Martín de Huerces, a pass of only 5 kilometers but with ramps of up to 19% gradient, at 20 kilometers from the finish, Manuel Zeferino's disciples made a rocket attack where 4 of his men were able to break away from the rest of the peloton. They were the rejects of Operation Puerto, Angel Vicioso and Constantino Zabaya, and the informed Xavier Tondo and the Portuguese Bruno Pires. The 4 of them set such a high pace that only one man could keep up with them, the always sensual, bald-headed Probenecid Gazelli. There were no time splits or watt meters back then, but on the commentary on Asturian television, the doped-up Jose Luis Rubiera couldn't believe what he was seeing. It was the reincarnation of Gewis Balan 1994, but 14 years later and in a small-town race, and in the form of a humble Portuguese team that was busting open several of the biggest Epoca doping monsters. In those 5 uphill kilometers, the LA Aluminios and Gazelli took 40 seconds off the rest of the riders, including our white Kenyan. Everyone was riding with their tongues hanging out. And of course, on the way to Gijón, they relieved each other so powerfully that they didn't even have to worry about team tactics, trying to leave Gazelli behind. They worked, each and every one of them, to arrive in Gijón with more than 1.5 minutes of advantage over Bison Cobo, Sammy Sanchez, Moises Dueñas, Ezequiel Mosquera and Christopher Froome. They even dared to take a sprint against a fast man like Gazelli, but the even faster Vicioso, a man imprisoned by his own surname, managed to take the victory in front of the few fans present in Gijón that day, since just a few meters away there was Sporting Gijón playing soccer for promotion to the First Division. That's where all the eyes were. 4 of Dr. Maynar's guys blew away the competition, and although Probenecid Gazelli took 2 stage wins, the final podium was made up of 3 riders from the Portuguese team. Vicioso took the win with more than 1 minute over Tondo and almost 2 minutes over Pires. Chris Froome tried to shine in the 17-kilometer individual time trial, finishing in Llanes, where Sammy Sanchez won and the newly naturalised Briton finished a remarkable 5th in what was then his speciality, of course, and he did it totally clean. But he couldn't even finish the race. He was exhausted by the Aluminios show, and so he arrived more than 26 minutes behind Maynar's men on the Alto del Acebo. Angel Vicioso returned to racing for many years in the World Tour, thanks to Makarov's Katusha team and Andorran Rodriguez. Chris Froome became a cycling legend after being suddenly diagnosed with bilharzia, and Dr. Maynar was, according to him, unjustly sanctioned for 10 years by the Portuguese Cycling Federation after the death of Bruno Neves, one of its riders, who passed away from a cardiac arrest in the Amarante Classic. But it was Dr. Maynar who, that week in Asturias, turned Christopher Froome into a man.